Namaste. In the previous class, we looked at the nomenclature of haloalkanes, haloarenes, the different ways in which we can name them, both IUPAC as well as common. In today's class, we'll start with how to prepare haloalkanes and haloarenes. The first method involves the starting compound alcohols. Alcohols have the general formula ROH as indicated here. Now, alcohols can be converted into haloalkanes through all these processes mentioned here. Let's take each process and understand what happens in each of these reactions. Now, in the first case, the alcohol is made to react with HCl in the presence of anhydrous zinc chloride. This reagent is called as Lucas reagent. In the presence of Lucas reagent, an alcohol gets converted into an alkyl chloride. Now what's happening here? It's pretty simple. OH goes out with H as water. In place of OH, who's coming in? Yes, Cl is coming in to give us RCl, and H2O is eliminated. This process is also called as Grove's process. Since it is a name reaction, I want you to remember the name. Grove's process is a process where an alcohol is converted into an alkyl halide in the presence of Lucas reagent. Now, who is Lucas reagent? HCl in the presence of anhydrous zinc chloride. Okay, so that is the first method. In the second method, alcohol is made to react with NaBr in the presence of sulfuric acid, and this mixture is refluxed. Now, when you reflux a mixture of alcohol, NaBr, and H2SO4, we get RBr. What's happening here? Even here, it's the same thing. OH minus is taken away by H plus, which is given away by H2SO4. Br gets substituted in place of OH minus to give us the alkyl bromide. Clear? The third method, an alcohol is made to react with phosphorus trihalide. PX3 means phosphorus trihalide. When an alcohol is made to react with phosphorus trihalide, we have to take 3 moles of the alcohol in this method. So when we take 3 moles of the alcohol and made to react with 1 mole of PX3, what will happen is 3 moles of RX is obtained. Clear? Along with that, H3PO3, phosphorus acid, is the byproduct. So even here, OH goes out, and how many OHs are there? There are 3 OH groups because we are starting with 3 moles of alcohol, and 3 of these OH combine with phosphorus to form H3PO3, which is phosphorus acid, and the 3 R groups will take away the 3 halogen atoms to form 3 moles of alkyl halide. Clear? The fourth method involves phosphorus pentahalide. In the previous case, it was phosphorus trihalide. Here we are taking phosphorus pentahalide. Now, when we're taking phosphorus pentahalide, we don't need to take 3 moles. 1 mole of ROH is enough. So I just take 1 mole of ROH. When this is made to react with PCl5, one of the Cl's will take away one of the hydrogens to go out as what? To go out as HCl. Oxygen is taken away by phosphorus and 3 more chlorine atoms to go out as POCl3. Now what is remaining? I have one Cl which is remaining here and an R group which is remaining here. They will combine to form RCl. So let me repeat. When I take an alcohol, ROH, and make it react with PCl5, one of the chlorines is taken away by this hydrogen to go out as HCl. Phosphorus will take away 3 more chlorines from here and oxygen to go out as POCl3, phosphoryl chloride. What is remaining? R will take away the remaining chlorine to form RCl, alkyl halide. Now you would have clearly seen the difference between the reaction of an alcohol with phosphorus trihalide and phosphorus pentahalide. In the case of phosphorus trihalide, you need to take 3 moles of the alcohol, whereas in the case of phosphorus pentachloride, you just need to take 1 mole of the alcohol. Clear? All right. Coming to the last method. In the last method, even here, we just take 1 mole of ROH. Clear? I take 1 mole of ROH. It is made to react with thionyl chloride. What is thionyl chloride? SOCl2. SOCl2 in the presence of pyridine. SOCl2 in the presence of pyridine. Now what will happen here? SO will take away this oxygen. SO will take away this oxygen to go out as what? SO2. Then this hydrogen will take away one of the chlorine atoms to go out as what? HCl. Now what is remaining here? R. What is remaining here? Cl. They come together to form RCl. So pretty straightforward. So what happens in this method? An alcohol reacts with thionyl chloride in the presence of pyridine. What is thionyl chloride? SOCl2. Now what are the byproducts? Hydrogen takes away one of the chlorine atoms to go out as HCl. SO will take away the oxygen from the alcohol to go out as SO2. Whatever is remaining, they combine. So who is remaining? R is remaining here, and one of the Cl atoms is remaining here. They combine to form RCl. This is the reaction. There's a name given to this method. This method is called as Darzon's process. Since it's a name reaction, it's a very important reaction. Now, this has been asked multiple times. Explain Darzon's process. So in Darzon's process, an alcohol reacts with thionyl chloride in the presence of pyridine. The byproducts are sulfur dioxide and HCl. Now, this method is a very useful method. In fact, this is a preferred method for the preparation of alkyl halide. Now we need to understand why is this a preferred method. Out of all the methods that are mentioned here in this slide involving alcohols, this method is the most preferred method. Why do you think so? Why do you think out of all these reactions which are mentioned here, out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 methods that we have seen in this single slide involving the same starting compound alcohol, the last method is the most preferred method? This is what is employed. Why? Answer lies there. Answer is there in the reaction itself. Okay, what is the difference that you see between all the products and the last one? In all the cases, of course, the common product is alkyl halide. Look at the other products that are formed, which are called as the byproducts. Now, byproducts here is SO2 and HCl. Byproducts here is POCl3, HCl, phosphorus acid, water. Now, what is different in the last case when compared to all the other four? Yes, what you see here as a difference is this arrow mark which is going upwards. Now, what do you understand by the arrow mark going upwards? In chemistry, when we put an arrow mark going upwards, it means it is a gas. It means it evaporates or it means it escapes. So when you look at all the byproducts that are mentioned in the various reactions in this slide, and the last one, it is very easy to remove the byproducts in the last case. Now, why is it easy? Because they are gases. They can be easily separated from the product that we need to prepare, which is my alkyl halide. Hence, Darzan's process is the most preferred method. So why is Darzan's method the preferred method to prepare an alkyl halide? Because the byproducts are gases. They separate on their own, leaving behind the alkyl halide in the beaker. So we don't need to put a lot of effort in separating our primary product with the byproducts. Hence, Darzan's process is the most preferred method. I want you to take your homework. I want you to prepare propyl halide. I want you to prepare propyl halide from all these methods. I want you to start with an alcohol and prepare propyl halide. Clear? So take that as homework. We'll go to the second method. The second method is starting from hydrocarbons. Hydrocarbons are the starting compounds. Now, this was the homework that I gave you in the previous class. Free radical halogenation of alkanes. This is something that we studied in our first year. We studied this in under the reactions of alkanes. And the products obtained were alkyl halides. Or depending upon at what stage you are stopping the reaction, you get different products, because we studied if you start with methane and react it with chlorine, you get 4 different products. And finally, you end up with carbon tetrachloride. Clear? Hence, this method is not a preferred method. Unlike the previous method we just saw. We just saw Darzan's process, and we said Darzan's process is the preferred method. Why is that a preferred method? It's a preferred method because the byproducts are gases, and it's easy to separate the primary product from the byproducts. Whereas I'm just saying that this method, free radical halogenation of alkanes, is not a preferred method. It is not used frequently. Why? Because the answer lies in the mechanism of the reaction. The reaction does not stop with one product. Say, for example, I just need chloromethane or methyl chloride. Reaction will not stop there. If I have chlorine and HNu, diffuse sunlight, the reaction will proceed to give methylene chloride, which will then proceed to give chloroform, which will then proceed to give me carbon tetrachloride. So if I need to just get one alkyl halide, I cannot use this method. But still, this is one of the methods for preparation of alkyl halides. The second one is halogenation of toluene. Now this is toluene. We saw toluene again last year in Friedel-Crafts reaction, where benzene got converted to toluene. So toluene undergoes bromination in the presence of bromine and ferric bromide. What will happen is one of the hydrogens will take away one of the bromine atoms to go out as HBr. What's remaining here? There's one more bromine atom that's remaining. That bromine gets substituted in place of hydrogen. And this can either happen at the ortho position or it can happen at the para position. So it can either happen at ortho or it can happen at para. So you get an ortho product and you get a para product. This reaction is called electrophilic substitution reaction. Now, this is a reaction that you studied last year in benzene. Which were the electrophilic substitution reactions that you studied? Yes. Chlorination, alkylation, acylation, nitration, and sulfonation. These were the various reactions that you studied under electrophilic substitution last year. This is also electrophilic substitution where we replace hydrogen which is attached to benzene. So this is the second method involving hydrocarbons, halogenation of toluene, giving us haloarenes. Clear? Yeah. Coming to the third reaction, this is a very, very, very important reaction. Name reaction, Sand-Meyer reaction, or it's also called diazotization reaction. Now let us understand what's happening in this reaction. We start with a primary amine. To this primary amine, I add NaNO2 and HCl at 273 to 278 Kelvin, which is nothing but 0 degrees to 5 degrees Celsius. So we take a primary amine, react it with NaNO2 and HX. Now what is a primary amine? A primary amine is an amine where nitrogen is bonded to only one carbon atom. Remember we studied primary alkyl halide, secondary alkyl halide and so on. It's quite similar to that. Who is a primary amine? A primary amine is an amine where nitrogen is bonded to one more carbon atom. Clear? Now this is a primary amine. A primary amine, when it is made to react with NaNO2 and HX, which can be HCl, at 0 to 5 degrees Celsius, what I get is benzene diazonium salt. So look at what's happening to the compound. H2 is going out, clear, and X is coming in. H2 is going out, X is coming in, one more nitrogen is also coming in. Clear? So this is what's happening. H2 goes out, one more nitrogen comes in, and one more X comes in to become C6H5 N2 plus X minus. So this resembles a salt. A salt is somebody which has both radicals, acid radical and basic radical, or a positively charged ion and a negatively charged ion. Hence this is a salt. This salt is called as benzene diazonium salt, or if this halogen is chlorine, it's called as benzene diazonium chloride, or BDC. So what is BDC? Benzene diazonium chloride. Clear? So this is what is obtained. Now why is the compound called so? Now this is my benzene. Yeah, so this is benzene, no doubt about it. There are two nitrogens. Nitrogen is also called as azo. Nitrogen is also called as what? Azo. Just like sulfur, which is called as thio. Sulfur is also called by the name thio. Same way, nitrogen is also called by a name azo. So how many azo atoms are there? Two azo atoms. So therefore, diazo. Hence the name benzene diazonium chloride. Clear? BDC, benzene diazonium chloride. This is what is obtained in the first step. In the second step, what we do is BDC that is obtained is made to react with copper halide. It's made to react with whom? Copper halide. When it is made to react with copper halide, nitrogen goes out as N2. Nitrogen goes out as what? N2, and X gets substituted in place of nitrogen here to form my aryl halide. Clear? In the second step, BDC, benzene diazonium chloride, is made to react with copper halide. And when it is made to react with copper halide, nitrogen is eliminated, leaving behind halogen, which is bonded to the benzene ring, giving us the aryl halide. So this reaction is called Sandmeyer reaction. Now let us understand Sandmeyer reaction once again. In Sandmeyer reaction, we start with a primary amine. This primary amine is made to react with NaNO2 and HCl at 0 degrees to 5 degrees Celsius, or 273 to 278 Kelvin. When these two react, the product obtained is benzene diazonium chloride, or BDC. Now, since during this step, two azo atoms are formed in the product, this reaction is also called as diazotization reaction. Diazotization because two nitrogen atoms are involved in the product at the end of this reaction. Now BDC then further reacts with copper halide. Now when it reacts with copper halide, nitrogen is eliminated. Upon elimination of nitrogen, the halogen gets substituted in place of the nitrogen to the benzene ring, giving us the aryl halide. This reaction is called Sandmeyer reaction. I've already told you this is a very, very, very important reaction. Hence, I want you to write this reaction 3 times. That's your homework. Write Sandmeyer reaction 3 times so that you practice well and you're able to recollect the reaction. So far I've given you 2 homeworks. First one was preparation of propyl halide using all the 5 reactions there. And the second homework is this. I want you to prepare, or I want you to write Sandmeyer reaction 3 times. Clear? All right, let's move to the next reaction. This is also one more reaction that you studied last year. Addition of hydrogen halide to alkenes. Remember this reaction? I know some of you remember it, most of you would have forgotten it. Alkenes are compounds which have a double bond. We can add HX. HX is a hydrogen halide. A hydrogen halide adds to an alkene to give us an alkyl halide. Now this is where we came across a rule called as Markovnikov's rule. I want you, all of you, to close your eyes and then try to recollect Markovnikov's rule. Close your eyes. Try to recollect Markovnikov's rule. Let me see how many of you can actually recollect the rule. I know most of you are stuck. You're not able to recollect Markovnikov's rule. Open your eyes. The statement of Markovnikov's rule is mentioned here. Read the statement of Markovnikov's rule. And slowly you'll be able to remember back whatever you studied in your first year. So what does Markovnikov's rule state? Markovnikov's rule states that whenever an unsymmetrical molecule adds to an unsymmetrical alkene, the positive part of the molecule will add to the carbon of the double bond having more number of hydrogen atoms. So here, for Markovnikov's rule to be applicable, I need an unsymmetrical alkene. That's what we have taken in the example below. This is propene. Now this propene is unsymmetrical. Now why is it unsymmetrical? Because if I break here across the double bond, do I get two equal parts? No, I don't. I get two unequal parts. Hence, this is an unsymmetrical alkene. Now what is he saying? When an unsymmetrical molecule, HBr, is it unsymmetrical? Yes, it is. When an unsymmetrical molecule adds to an unsymmetrical alkene, the positive part of this molecule, now between H and Br, who's positive? H, yes. The positive part of this molecule will add to the carbon of the double bonds. Now, if I number this as carbon 1, 2, and 3, which are the carbons involving the double bond? 1 and 2. So, the positive part, which is hydrogen, will add to carbon of the double bond having more number of hydrogen atoms. Now, out of 1 and 2, which carbon has more number of hydrogens? Yes, of course, 1. So therefore, hydrogen will add to this carbon. If hydrogen adds to the first carbon, bromine will add to the second carbon. Giving us what? Giving us 2-bromopropane. This will be the major product. This product is also obtained, but in a smaller quantity. Hence, this product is called minor product. Now, all the story is something that you understood last year. Correct? Yeah. Clear? So this is the other method involving hydrocarbons. Addition of HX to alkenes. This is one more reaction that you studied. Addition of halogens to alkenes. In the previous case, we looked at addition of HX to alkenes. Here we are adding what? Halogen molecule to alkene. Clear? So halogen will add. So one bromine will add here. Another bromine will add here. Giving us what? Giving us 1,2 dibromoethane. Clear? 1,2 dibromoethane. I will not spend much on this reaction as well, because this is one more reaction that we studied in the last year. Now comes the important reactions. The first one is called halogen exchange. Under the first one is Finkelstein reaction. Once again, a name reaction. So therefore it's important. Remember, all name reactions are important. Clear? Every name reaction is very, very, very important. So as the name itself indicates here, it is halogen exchange. Now what do you mean by exchange? You're familiar with exchanging your mobile phones, right? So what do? You give your old mobile phone and you get a new mobile phone under the exchange rules. Same way here, it is halogen exchange, which means one halogen is exchanged by another halogen during the course of this reaction. What happens in Finkelstein reaction? In Finkelstein reaction, an alkyl halide Rx is made to react with NaI, sodium iodide, in the presence of diacetone. The presence of what? Diacetone as a solvent. Now what will happen here? As the name itself indicates, it's a halogen exchange. This X will take away sodium. X will take away sodium to go out as what? To go out as NaX. So in place of X, who's coming in? Yes, iodine is coming in to give us what? Ri. Clear? So this is a reaction where a halogen, which can be either chlorine or bromine, is exchanged with whom? With iodine. And who is providing that iodine? Sodium iodide. And this reaction happens in the presence of dry acetone. Clear? You get an alkyl iodide and NaX. I want you to write a reaction starting from ethyl chloride. I want you to start from ethyl chloride, carry out Finkelstein reaction. Carry out Finkelstein reaction. I want you to write it now. Ethyl chloride with sodium iodide in the presence of dry acetone. Find out what is the product. Done? All right. So what is ethyl chloride? If this Rx should be ethyl chloride, what should R be? Yes, R should be C2H5. So R is C2H5. X will be Cl. In the presence of NaI, what do I get? C2H5I and NaX. Clear? So alkyl iodide or ethyl iodide is obtained as the product. Clear? I want you to take this also as homework. Finkelstein reaction, write it down. I want you to write it 2 times. Finkelstein reaction. This has been asked a lot of times in your PU board examination, of course in competitive as well. Explain Finkelstein reaction, 2 marks. 1 mark for the equation, 1 mark for the statement. So very frequently this is asked. Hence, I want you to take this as homework and practice the same. A similar reaction, again called as halogen exchange. The second one is called as Schwarz reaction. This is also a name reaction, so therefore it's also important. So what's happening in Schwarz? Even here, this is halogen exchange. So we take an alkyl iodide and react it with AgF, silver fluoride. So what are we taking? An alkyl iodide in the presence of silver fluoride. So naturally you will know what is getting replaced. Yes, iodine takes away silver to go out as silver iodide. In place of iodine, which halogen is coming in? Fluorine is coming in to give us alkyl fluoride. So this reaction is similar to the previous case, except that which halogen is getting replaced? Yes, in the previous case, iodine comes in place of either chlorine or bromine. Whereas here, fluorine comes in place of iodine. This reaction is called as Schwarz reaction. So take this also as homework. I want you to write it 2 times. So a lot of homework for today. It's primarily because all the reactions that we have come across is important. Any one of these can be asked for 2 marks. Clear? So under halogen exchange, we have 2 reactions. Which are the 2 reactions? Finkelstein reaction and Schwarz reaction. In Finkelstein reaction, we take an alkyl halide in the presence of sodium iodide and dry acetone. We get an alkyl iodide. The halogen exchange is happening between the halogen which can either be chlorine or bromine with iodine. In the second halogen exchange, an alkyl iodide is made to react with silver fluoride. Here, which halogen is getting exchanged? Yes, iodine is getting replaced by fluorine to give the alkyl fluoride. In fact, one of these two have been asked for sure. In all the PO exams that have happened, either Finkelstein or Schwartz have been asked successively. So one of these two is extremely important. Make sure you practice these two. Clear? This brings us to the next question. Why do we need to study these compounds? Now we just looked at the content flow. In the content flow, we said under why we will look at the properties, both physical and chemical. We look at the various reactions that these compounds show, and then we look at the uses. So I'll keep this for the next class. In today's class, we looked at the various methods of preparation of alkyl halides and aryl halides. You need to ensure that as soon as the class gets over, finish the homework, submit it before evening, and practice these reactions, because if you don't practice it today, you will forget it. 1 month from now, if I ask you Darson's process, Finkelstein reaction, Schwartz reaction, you will just not be able to recollect if you do not practice on a daily basis. Clear? So submit your homework, practice these reactions. Until the next class, thank you. Namaste.